Come, Nerevar, come. In today's sermon, we will explore hypotheticals. Well, not really hypotheticals, but the most likely scenario. Using my psychic powers of the third eye, I will answer the question, what if the last Dragonborn did not exist? What would have happened? Let's discuss each major quest line and faction, and how they would have fared without the Dragonborn. This timeline is called the Hermaeus Mora story, because this is the false god that would benefit the most from this situation, with some caveats. This scenario assumes that the Dragonborn is completely removed from the equation, with no one stepping in to replace him. Just imagine, there is no one on that cart, and Ralof is just a madman talking to an empty space. Let us begin with the main quest. And this might be a controversial view, however. If the Dragonborn did not exist, Alduin would appear, but elsewhere. And the mongrel dogs of the Empire would have gotten rid of that dense Nord Enwa Ulfric Stormcloak alongside with Ralof and the other Stormcloaks. The Skyrim Civil War questline would be over just like that, because, of course, the Empire does not want its provinces breaking away and determining their own fates. I am speaking from experience. Moving along, though, seriously, the Empire would be united against the threat of dragons somewhat. So this goes against Alduin's plans. Without having the Dragonborn, the Greybeards will be scrambling to find a hero. Oh, who would it be? Could it be the companions who will learn Dragonrend and fight off Alduin? Highly unlikely, but they may help. Could it be Ulfric Stormcloak, who trained with the Greybeards and can... Oh wait, he has been taken out of the equation. Anyway, I will pose a question. Would the Greybeards risk the end of the Kalpa? Would Paarthurnax really let Alduin win? Or would they actually make a deal with a Dragonborn substitute who has an ace in the hole by being a show-off on Solstheim? I mean, literally, the moment the dragons show up, Miraak appears. Don't get me wrong, Nerevar, I am not implying that Enwa Miraak could handle this by himself. Well, if he tried and failed, then world eaten, Kalpa ended, yada yada yada. Generally, the Greybeards would be mostly fine with the world ending. However, Delphine, that dumb Enwa, is still working on defeating dragons and the Thalmor. Also, Miraak's boss, Hermaeus Mora, wants to preserve the current Kalpa and reality, so Alduin doesn't exactly have many active supporters. While Alduin is busy resurrecting dragons, which takes a lot longer than expected, Miraak is building a new country in Solstheim. In any case, this unholy alliance of Miraak, Hermaeus Mora, Delphine, Paarthurnax, and the Greybeards would defeat Alduin. Miraak would also break free from Hermaeus Mora's power, but this could be debatable, as Hermaeus Mora can also control the last Dragonborn. In any case, with Alduin's defeat, the Kalpa continues. What happens afterward is a bit murky. Miraak's storyline converges with Skyrim's main quest. However, without the Dragonborn, Solstheim would fall under Miraak's rule, likely collaborating with Hermaeus Mora or constantly battling him. Either way, it would be chaotic with Miraak in charge. Who knows? Someone might rise to defeat Miraak after he triumphs over Alduin. Perhaps Delphine and Esbern would turn against him as they did with Paarthurnax. Their fragile alliance wouldn't last long and would quickly descend into chaos. Miraak wouldn't heed the feeble Enwa blades or the Greybeards. The Empire and Morrowind would perceive him as a threat and probably go to war with Solstheim, leading to a political quagmire without truly resolving the dragon issue. Regarding Dawnguard, there isn't as much to discuss. The Dawnguard would likely discover Serana first. They could either kill her and Harkon, completing the mission, since Harkon is incompetent and unable to obtain the Elder Scroll. However, if she persuades the Dawnguard, things would be more or less the same as when the Dragonborn was present. The Dawnguard explored the same areas as the Dragonborn and Serana, so it's reasonable to think the story would have unfolded similarly, just with Isran and some Dawnguard Enwas involved. Who knows? Maybe Miraak would intervene if Harkon decided to end the tyranny of the sun, because that would disrupt his unclear plans. If you are enjoying this sermon, honor the sixth house and the tribe unmourned by raising your thumbs, subscribing to my sermons, and writing on the parchment down below. Let me know if you'd like to hear what would happen if the protagonists of other Elder Scrolls games did not exist. Now, when it comes to these other factions, any competent warrior would technically be able to complete these quest lines without the Dragonborn present, but competence is not exactly in abundance in Skyrim, so I believe they will all suffer greatly. With that, we move on to the Dark Brotherhood. Honestly, Nerevar, the Dragonborn, saved that wretched organization. If it hadn't been for the Dragonborn, Commander Morrow would have already known about the location of the sanctuary. Astrid probably would have made some mistake or betrayed the Brotherhood because of Cicero. She might have thrown Cicero under the horse carriage and reported him to Commander Morrow to spare everyone else's life. Well, Nerevar, Morrow does not honor her request. With or without his son's death, he destroys the Dark Brotherhood. The only way it would survive is if Cicero is in the Dawnstar Sanctuary and is later joined by Babette, who is supposedly the last surviving member of the Brotherhood. They will somehow dig up the Night Mother's coffin and bring it to Dawnstar, but I do not think either of them will be listener. Moving on to the College of Winterhold without the Dragonborn, the college would be stagnant unless they discover the Eye of Magnus in Sarthal. However, let's imagine that they do find the Eye of Magnus. They are quite capable of bringing it to the college themselves. Yes, magical Nord Enwas are generally incompetent, but let's consider the factors. The Archmage is a Dunmer and, while somewhat lacking, can delegate missions to other mages, such as Toldfir and Feralda, as well as to the students. Some of them, including that furry farm tool, Jizargo, are indeed capable of investigating the Eye of Magnus and obtaining the Staff of Magnus, as well as collaborating with the Augur of Dunlane. Oh, and let's not forget that the Sigic Order would likely assist one of the mages. Anyway, despite the death of Archmage Savos Aran, I believe the other mages would eliminate Ancano, and the Staff of Magnus would be used to stabilize the Eye. Nerevar, I do not say this lightly, but the absence of the Dragonborn does not significantly alter this quest line. The Thieves Guild would have two quite simple paths. First, Mercer Frey just robs them blind, and goes on to achieve wealth beyond measure with the skeleton key. However, what is the more likely scenario is that Karliah takes over the whole operation. Once Mercer Frey runs off with the wealth, there is a possibility that Karliah convinces the other guild members that she is innocent, and maybe even be able to retrieve the skeleton key. After all, it is in Nocturnal's interest to help her. Karliah is a resourceful Dunmer, Nerevar, since she is related to Berenzia. Finally, we reach the Companions, arguably the worst quest line in Skyrim. Honestly, the ending of the Companions feels somewhat underwhelming. The Silver Hand could wipe them out, despite the Dragonborn's help in taking down that organization. However, they might manage to fend for themselves. After all, it's a ragtag group. Even if the Silver Hand is somehow eliminated, they would still face a crisis in trying to return Wuthred to the tomb of Ysgramor. For instance, Vilkas asks the Dragonborn to proceed through the dungeon without him, as he has sustained too much emotional damage and won't be able to continue. So there are many opportunities for them to be defeated. Also, most Daedric princes would lose in this case, as they do not have a proper chosen one champion that they could manipulate. A lot of miscellaneous quests won't get solved. If you want me to discuss them in detail, let me know. There are also a possibility that some Enwa with Mehrunes Razor and Dragonrend can bring down Alduin. But we will discuss that theory in another sermon. Honor the sixth house and the tribe unmourned by raising your thumb, subscribing to my sermons, and writing on the parchment down below. Thank you to all Sixth House members and patrons for funding the operation of the Sixth House across Tamriel. I would like to thank the adoring fan Connor Runda and the current Sharmat Tanya Davis for your unwavering loyalty during these less productive times.